Hey there, my name is Megan and welcome to my channel, or welcome back. Today I'm going to be recommending 5 science fiction books that you can read in one sitting. When I think of sci-fi books, I often think of big, chunky space operas with impeccable world building, and while I do absolutely love those type of sci-fi stories, there are definitely some that are a bit scaled back, less hard sci-fi, and can easily be read in one sitting. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the recommendations. The first book is Foe by Ian Reid. This is a psychological science fiction novel that does take place on Earth. We're following 2 characters named Junior and Hen, which I believe is short for Henrietta. They are living a very remote, isolated life on a farm, and I believe the year is roughly 2060. Their very peaceful life is unraveled when a stranger named Terrence arrives at their door with a strange proposition. Currently in this world, people are basically conscripted into spaceflight, and Terrence says that Junior has to go into space for, I think it's 2 years, and they will send someone to keep Henrietta company, and it is basically a replica of her husband, Junior. Everything about Hen's husband, Junior, will be copied onto this replica. Identity, personality, not all of the memories can be transferred. The book doesn't actually say exactly how they make the replica. Is it an android? Is it flesh? Is it a clone? We don't know, but it's fun to interpret. As the story unfolds, we see that there is a lot of tension that begins to build between Henrietta, Junior, and also Terrence. This book surrounds so many themes that I personally resonated with, which is why I think I liked it so much. Some of the theme topics touched on are identity, what makes us human, the importance of memories in shaping our identity, as well as the dynamics of a married couple, which I don't think is touched on a lot in science fiction at all. Ultimately, for being set on a quiet, peaceful farm, this book has a deep feeling of eeriness to it, and I just loved the foreshadowing, and I loved the twist at the end, and I loved all of the little clues that the author gave to build up to that big reveal. Ultimately, Foe was one of my favorite books I think that I read in 2023, and I highly recommend it if you have not yet read it. If you are enjoying this video, please consider hitting that subscribe button, as well as giving this video a like to throw my channel a little love and support. Also, I am the author of the sci-fi mystery book Aftermath, which currently has a 4.5 rating on Goodreads. I would love for y'all to take a second and check it out and see if it is a book that speaks to you and that you might be interested in reading. I would really appreciate it. Next, we have A Scanner Darkly by Philip K. Dick. This is a dystopian science fiction novel, and it follows a world where drug use has become rampant and the government closely monitors all of its citizens. The main drug that people are using is called Substance D, and we are following an undercover narcotics officer named Bob, and he is trying to infiltrate a group of these drug dealers. But in order to fully immerse himself in his undercover role, Bob has to engage in using Substance D himself. As he becomes more deeply ingrained in his undercover life, Bob begins to lose his sense of self. There are also a lot of negative effects that this drug has on the brain, which leads to an utter breakdown of his mind, his personality, and his sense of self. This book definitely addresses some really deep topics, such as the dehumanizing effect of drug addiction, the loss of personal agency due to the effect of these drugs, and how it can overwrite and control and change the mind, as we do see in current drugs even today. And then we have the surveillance and control of the government and the technology that they use in order to implement their surveillance tactics on the populace. Then we have The Island of Dr. Moreau, which is a classic science fiction novel by H.G. Wells. The story follows a man named Prendick, and he is the survivor of a shipwreck, and he finds himself on this isolated island that is occupied by the infamous Dr. Moreau and his assistant. Once he's on the island, Prendick uncovers that Dr. Moreau has been doing these horrific, cruel experiments on animals as he is trying to create new versions of animals, mostly turning them into human-like creatures. These new creations are known as beast folk. What we learn is that Dr. Moreau, in addition to creating these abominations, has also established a very, very strict society that these beast folk have to abide by. Prendick is horrified by the immorality of Dr. Moreau's actions and also terrified of what he learns about the beast folk because he does spend some time with them and he learns that they are slowly reverting back to their beast-like nature and is basically removed of any little snippet of humanity that they had. This book really delves into several themes. We do see that at times Prendick is acting and associating with the beast-like behaviors of the beast folk, so it draws the question of how far above our basic instincts have humans risen. It also begs the question of what is ethical in science and obviously human experimentation, which I feel like in 2024 we have laws that surround that now, but I guess in H.G. Wells' days, there were not very many laws surrounding what was okay and what was not okay with regards to human experimentation, and it's definitely a bit unsettling to read and think about. I really did appreciate all of the themes and ideas that the author presented, and it is a very short book that you can read in one sitting. Next, we have Mal Goes to War by Edward Ashton, who is the same author as Mickey 7. In this world, we're following Mal, who is a self-thinking free AI, and the human beings on Earth are fighting again, and Mal normally completely stays out of the humans fighting. In fact, all of the free-thinking AIs stay out of human affairs when they're fighting. One day he finds that he has been cut off from infospace, which I guess is very similar to think of the server farm or the cloud where all of these AIs might be housed. Anyway, he is cut off from that and he has to download himself into this cyborg in order to survive. The cyborg was tasked with protecting a modified young girl, and the cyborg actually died, but he is able to inhabit the body. And what he learns is that this girl is actually not this young girl she appears to be. She's like 18 years old in a child's body, and she acts like it, 100% acts like it, is impulsive, has a mouth on her, and it's funny coming from a child. But he is drawn into this war, drawn into protecting this modified child because there are people coming after her. So Mal's intent to stay out of the war is completely flipped on his head as now he is fully invested in it. This book was a lot of fun. Edward Ashton knows how to write very fast-paced books. His characters are very, I don't want to say quirky, but they have a lot of banter, they have a lot of humor, and our main character, Mal, is definitely very sarcastic at times. It's funny reading from the point of an AI because he doesn't always think and act like a human, and there's definitely some scenes where he does stuff that no human would do because we know better, but it's always interesting seeing how an author would think a computer would react to a human situation. We do actually have a character arc with Mal, which is kind of funny, but I do recommend this book if you are someone that's looking for more light sci-fi that's fast-paced and it's an adventure and you want to laugh a little bit while you're reading. And lastly, we have Upgrade by Blake Crouch. We are following a character named Logan Ramsey, and he is a geneticist. He actually becomes the kind of guinea pig for a groundbreaking experiment after he goes through a tragic accident. He becomes subjected to a genetic enhancement that changes his DNA, and he becomes more intelligent, more physically capable, and more perceptive than he was before the enhancement. As Logan grapples with what happened to him, he begins to learn that these genetic enhancements are not only affecting him personally, himself, but his relationships, his family, and the world around him. What we learn is that what happened to Logan is actually only one step in a bigger, more sinister plan that actually has to do or involve his mother, who was very much at the forefront, pioneering of this genetic evolution of genetic enhancements. Logan is soon caught in a race against time as he has to stop those that are looking to reshape humanity using these new scientific discoveries. This book definitely delves into the ethics of scientific experimentation, genetic engineering, and how far humans should go in manipulating our own biology. Okay, you guys, those are 5 science fiction novels that you can read in one day. They are definitely very different in their plots and their subject matters, but a lot of the themes are similar, and I would recommend all of these books. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of them and what you've thought of them. Also, let me know in the comments if you have any book recommendations for short science fiction books that you think can be read in one day. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in another video soon. Goodbye!